How's it going, everyone? Thanks for tuning in. We're on to episode number 4 here. And for this episode, we'll be talking about my man, Samuel Daniel. Part of that early sonnet phase way back in the day. And hopefully we'll touch some more on the origin of the sonnets in a later episode. But tonight we will be talking about Sam Dan here, although I don't think he was called Sam Dan, but I'm going to call him Sam Dan since I think that's cool. And we will be talking about this poem. Now, I don't think this poem is the greatest sonnet ever, but I do think it's going to help us really understand some context, really understand how sonnets are built, since this is kind of early example of the iambic pentameter sonnet, and it's putting all the pieces together. It's technical, like it does the job here, and you let me know what you think. I found this sonnet in this book here. It goes under different names and different series on the internet. I think it was Beauty, Time, and Truth was the sonnet series that Oxford mentioned. Now you have the first line. You could certainly Google that if you need to find a source for it for yourself. He wrote a lot of sonnets to Delia, and this one name drops Delia. So here we go. Number 3. And yet I cannot reprehend the flight or blame the attempt, presuming so to soar. The mounting venture for a high delight did make the honor of the fall the more. For who gets wealth that puts not from the shore? Danger hath honor, great designs their fame. Glory doth follow, courage goes before. And though the event oft answers not the same, suffice that high attempts have never shame. The mean observer, whom base safety keeps, lives without honor, dies without a name, and in eternal darkness ever sleeps. And therefore, Delia, 'tis to me no blot to have attempted, though attained thee not. So, he makes his point, right? YOLO, blaze it. If you're going to try to get into Delia's undergarments, you got to be bold. You got to risk it, and maybe the mounting venture for high delight didn't work, but you got to give it a shot, right? No pain, no gain, we would say today. Nothing ventured, nothing lost, unfortunately, is not something he coined. I think that's closer to what Chaucer came up with, a couple hundred years earlier. But whatevs. Everybody needs to hear this, right? You got to go out there and try to get yours, right? Go out there and be bold, be a man of action, right? Sam Dan's got your back. He's going to tell you chicks dig dudes with skills like nunchucks and sonnets and stuff. All right. So enough making fun, right? I mean, let's be serious here. He's a very serious, important poet. No, so, there are issues, right? The poem's strong in certain respects, but why am I going to pick on this poem a little bit, right? Well, what have I always been talking about, right? I'm talking about the Volta. I'm talking about this Volta just isn't that strong. It's just not that good. The pivot to this eternal, he name drops the eternal. In eternal darkness ever sleeps. But we're going from one sentiment, which is, hey, you got to risk it all, otherwise you're not going to be remembered, to a pivot to a change of perspective where he's just like the mean observer. Can't have any of those things. But we already know you can't have any of those things if you don't risk them. So it's like the poem kind of collapses a little bit. It doesn't really truly change its perspective in any meaningful way. And it doesn't really give the reader a satisfying depth of insight or new perspective or fresh thinking in that sestet. It just kind of keeps going on in the general thrust, so to speak, of the octave. Now, not the end of the world, right? Not every sonnet's going to kill it, right? And we could still learn some things from Sam Dan here. And what I want to do with our time here tonight is dig in and teach a little bit about the iambic pentameter line. I know that's super snooze, right? Super snooze. Said iambic pentameter, and I just my mind just turns off whenever anybody says that, right? But let's bear with me here. It's not so bad. It's not going to hurt that much, right? I promise. Woo! Okay, ready, guys? I'm going to go down here. And, check out line 2, right? So iambic pentameter just means it's like a pentagram, right, with 5 points, and it's like Satan and stuff. No. The pentameter just means it's 5 beats, right? So I'm just dividing, if you look at that second line, or blame, the tempt, presuming, so, to soar, you have these 5 beats: blame, the tempt, presume, so, and soar. You get 5 emphasized syllables, right? So there's 5 beats, 5 feet. Now, you might have more than 5 emphasized syllables if you substitute, but that's the basic idea of the iambic line, right? You get this da-da, 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 goes 5 times. Now, you can substitute a little bit here and there, right? And you can substitute for emphasis, but by and large, it's supposed to be 5 feet of da-da, da-da, da-da. So, and generally, he does a pretty good job of sticking to that pattern, right? So the first line you get, and yet I cannot reprehend the flight. So I read that I is emphasized, I cannot. So that would be called spondaic substitution, because it's 2 stressed syllables. The I and can are both stressed. The way I read it, you could read it, and yet I can not rep, but it's hard because he's introducing the I for the first time in the poem, and generally speaking, for us Westerners, for us, English speakers and people who for whom our own ego is just, we're caught up in who we are. When you say I in a poem, it tends to be, I, Sam Dan, want to get in Delia's pants, right? So you got to kind of get that I in there, right? So it kind of has to be a big syllable. At any rate, we generally speaking, it's all pretty regular, and we could quibble about that until you get way down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So line 6 here. Then you get danger, right? You get this trochaic substitution where the first syllable in danger is emphasized and the second syllable is less emphasized. And then it goes back to normal. Danger hath honor, great designs their fame. Now I'm reading it kind of like a nincompoop. You wouldn't really read it that way. But even if you read it more, danger hath honor, great designs their fame, you still get kind of the same overall pattern, right? And then the next line, you get this parallel meter. So he repeats the same pattern again. Glory doth follow, courage goes before. So he's repeating the exact same emphasis of that first strong syllable to really emphasize and drive home, drive in, hey, I really want to risk it all to get with Delia because, she's really hot. Just some things to think about, some more tools to bring to bear when you're looking at sonnets, when you're thinking about them, which is there's a rhythm. It's not just about the rhyme. It's not just about the volta. These other elements do come into the picture, do all piece together to make for a successful example and a successful instance. And yeah, I'm picking on this poem. It does have a little bit of a weak Volta. But who knows? I mean, maybe Delia was impressed, right? So, right on. Thanks so much for taking some time and hanging out with me. Again, I want to know what you think, what you like. For all you Samuel Daniel fans, please tell me how pissed you are that I, shorten his name and make fun of him. And if there's sonnets you want me to talk about, I want you to jump in and let me know. Let's go do this, guys. Come on, let's have some fun. All right. Thanks for joining me.